Nobody talks about this, but one of the most feared names connected to the death of Tupac Shakur wasn't a rapper, a celebrity, or even a major kingpin. It was a quiet but dangerous street figure from Compton named Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. To some, he was just another gang member. To others, he was a soldier who lived by one rule: respect is everything. His story is about power, loyalty, revenge, and how one moment in a casino changed hip-hop forever. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps push this video deeper into the algorithm so more people can discover real true crime stories like this. Now let's get into it. Orlando Anderson grew up in Compton during one of the most violent eras in the city's history. In the 1980s and 1990s, Compton wasn't just a city, it was a battlefield. Streets were divided by colors, territories, and alliances. Every block had rules, every neighborhood had enemies. If you grew up there, survival alone was an accomplishment. Orlando wasn't born a killer. People who knew him said he was actually smart. He went to school, he got decent grades. He wasn't the stereotypical troublemaker people might imagine. But environment shapes people, and Orlando's environment was brutal. Nearly everyone around him was tied to gang culture. Violence wasn't rare, it was normal. He became affiliated with the Southside Compton Crips, one of the most respected and feared Crip sets in the area. Once he was in, he earned a reputation fast. And this is where the mystery begins. People often assume the loudest guy in the room is the most dangerous. That wasn't Orlando. He wasn't flashy like some street figures. He didn't need to talk much. His reputation spoke for him. The streets knew Baby Lane was willing to put in work. If there was conflict, he didn't hesitate. That made him feared. But fear and respect are closely tied in gang culture. The more feared you become, the more people test you. And if you don't respond, your name loses value. That pressure creates a cycle. As Orlando got older, life became more complicated. He had children and responsibilities. He reportedly worked legitimate jobs at times, including at a lowrider-related shop, while also moving through street life. Like many men trapped between two worlds, he wanted money, respect, and a way out, but the streets kept pulling him back. Meanwhile, something major was happening just miles away. Death Row Records was dominating music. Death Row had become a powerhouse. The label wasn't just about music. It had deep street connections. Money, fame, and gang politics were mixing together in dangerous ways. That combination would become explosive. One of the biggest alliances connected to Death Row was with Mob Piru, a blood-affiliated gang from Compton. This mattered because Orlando ran with the Southside Crips' natural rivals. That rivalry had been brewing for years. Then came the event that changed everything. In September of '96, the boxing world was focused on the heavyweight championship fight between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon in Las Vegas. Celebrities, rappers, athletes, and street figures all flooded the city. Among them was Tupac Shakur. Tupac was at the peak of his fame. He was more than a rapper, he was a cultural force. Millions admired him. But behind the fame, there was chaos. He had ongoing legal issues, enemies and tensions surrounding him constantly. After the Tyson fight, Tupac and members of his death row entourage entered the MGM Grand lobby. Then someone spotted Orlando Anderson. That moment would change history. The story goes back to an earlier incident involving Trayvon Lane, a Mob Piru member connected to death row. He had allegedly been involved in a chain-snatching incident, and Orlando's name came up. When Trayvon spotted Orlando in the casino, he alerted Tupac. Seconds later, violence exploded. Tupac rushed Orlando. Punches flew. Kicks followed. Security scrambled. The assault was captured on surveillance footage. And here's what many people miss. For Tupac, it may have looked like a quick act of loyalty. For Orlando, it was public humiliation. And in street culture, humiliation is gasoline. Being beaten in front of people, especially in front of cameras, isn't something many gang members simply ignore. Respect demanded a response. That's the part many outsiders don't understand. To regular people, it was a fight. To the streets, it was war. Orlando now had a decision: walk away and become a joke, or retaliate. Hours later, Tupac rode through Las Vegas in a black BMW with Suge Knight driving, music playing, energy high. No one knew the night would end in tragedy. At a red light near the Las Vegas Strip, a white Cadillac pulled alongside them. Gunshots erupted. Bullets tore through the BMW. Tupac was hit multiple times. Suge was grazed. The Cadillac sped away. 6 days later, Tupac was dead. Hip-hop changed forever. The world demanded answers. Who did it? Why? Rumors spread instantly. Over time, one name kept surfacing: Orlando Anderson. Law enforcement investigated him. Detectives questioned him. The media chased him. But no murder charge ever came. That's where the mystery deepens. Was Orlando the shooter? Was he merely present? Did others pull the trigger? Many investigators believed he was directly involved or, at minimum, connected to the people responsible. But proving it in court is very different from believing it. No conviction ever happened. And here comes the twist almost nobody talks about. After Pac's death, Orlando didn't go into hiding. In fact, he became more visible. He gave interviews. He appeared on television. He even showed up around legal proceedings involving Suge Knight. That shocked many people. Why would someone heavily suspected in one of the biggest murders in music history stay so visible? Some thought it showed innocence. Others believed it showed extreme confidence. Or something even darker. Maybe he believed the streets, not the courts, would decide everything. Back in Compton, tensions exploded. The rivalry between the Southside Crips and Mob Piru intensified. Retaliation shootings reportedly followed. Multiple shootings hit both sides. The streets were boiling. Every move mattered. Every car could be a threat. Every corner could become a crime scene. This is where fear took over. Imagine waking up every day knowing enemies want revenge. That was Orlando's reality. Police eventually arrested him in a gang sweep. Reports said authorities recovered serious weapons, machine guns, assault rifles, enough firepower to suggest preparation for war. Yet once again, he avoided major long-term prison time. Many still ask, how? Some say witnesses stayed silent. Some say the evidence was weak. Some say street politics ran deeper than outsiders realized. Whatever the reason, Orlando remained free. But freedom didn't mean safety. By 1998, his name carried enormous weight. Some feared him. Some hated him. Some wanted revenge. Then came May 29, 1998. That day began like many others. But it ended in blood. Orlando reportedly went to a burger spot called Mom's Burger in Compton. Nearby, he spotted rivals associated with corner pocket Crips. There was already tension, money disputes, street issues, unfinished business. Words were exchanged. The confrontation escalated fast. Then guns came out. Shots exploded. Chaos everywhere. People ducked for cover. Bullets flew in every direction. When the smoke cleared, Orlando Anderson had been shot. He suffered fatal injuries. He was only 23 years old. 23. Think about that. At 23, most people are still figuring life out, building careers, dreaming about the future. Orlando's future ended in gunfire. And that brings us to the emotional core of this story. Orlando Anderson is often remembered only because of Tupac. But his story is bigger than that. It's the story of a young black man raised in an environment where survival often mattered more than dreams. A world where respect could mean life or death. A world where one punch could trigger murder. A world where pride became fatal. There's also a painful irony here. Many believe prison might have saved both Orlando and Pac was already dealing with legal issues and possible jail time. Orlando was constantly surrounded by violence and investigations. Had either been removed from the streets long enough, history might look very different. But that's not what happened. Instead, both died young. Both became symbols. One became immortal through music. The other became immortal through mystery. Even now, decades later, mention Tupac murder, and Orlando's name returns. Every documentary, every interview, every conspiracy theory. His shadow remains tied to one of hip-hop's biggest unanswered questions. And maybe that's the deepest tragedy. Orlando Anderson might have been more than the label people gave him. He may have been smart. He may have had dreams. He may have wanted more. But the streets don't care about potential. The The streets only care about survival, and survival has a brutal price. There's a lesson here, especially for young men chasing respect through violence. Fear creates temporary power. Violence creates temporary control, but both usually end the same way: jail, death, or trauma that lasts generations. Real power is building something nobody can take from you. Success, discipline, legacy that lasts longer than street reputation ever will. Orlando Baby Lane Anderson lived by the gun, and like so many before him, he died by it. His story remains a warning, not just about gang life, but about ego, revenge, and how one moment can destroy countless lives. One fight in a casino, one decision, one night, and history changed forever. Rest in peace, Tupac. Rest in peace, Orlando Anderson. 2 lives, 2 different paths, one tragic ending. But maybe the most chilling part of Orlando Anderson's story isn't the violence. It's how normal everything probably felt to him. That's something many people watching from the outside never fully understand. When you grow up surrounded by gunshots, gang politics, funerals, and revenge, danger stops feeling shocking. It becomes routine. You stop seeing it as chaos and start seeing it as daily life. Every decision becomes about survival. Every interaction becomes a test of pride, loyalty, and respect. For Orlando, the streets weren't something he visited. They were home. And when the streets become your teacher, the lessons are usually brutal. One of the saddest parts about stories like this is realizing how many talented young men never get the chance to become who they could have been. People often get reduced to headlines: gang member, suspect, killer, victim. But behind every headline is a real human being with layers, contradictions, and untapped potential. Orlando wasn't born with murder attached to his name. He was somebody's son, somebody's friend, somebody's father. At one point, he was just a kid with possibilities. But bad environments have a way of shrinking possibilities. That's why stories like Orlando's matter, not because we glorify violence, but because we need to understand the system that keeps producing these endings. And if we're being honest, this pattern still exists today. The names change, the neighborhoods change, the music changes, but the cycle remains. Young men chasing validation, street politics escalating over pride, one disrespect turning into permanent loss. We've seen similar patterns in modern hip-hop tragedies involving King Von, Pop Smoke, and many others. Fame doesn't always remove someone from danger. Sometimes it magnifies it. Money brings attention. Attention brings envy. Envy brings enemies. And enemies create danger. That's why success alone isn't enough. You also need wisdom. You need discipline. You need distance from environments that feed destruction. That's one lesson Tupac Shakur and Orlando's story leaves behind. Sometimes being tough isn't about fighting back. Sometimes the strongest move is walking away. That's hard for many men to accept, especially in cultures where backing down looks weak. But surviving is not weakness. Building peace is not weakness. Living long enough to create legacy, that's strength. Because at the end of the day, what did the violence really accomplish? Tupac died at just 25. Orlando died at 23. 2 young men. 2 lives cut short. Families devastated. Orlando's children left without their father. Fans left with questions. And a culture left replaying tragedy over and over again. The streets promised respect. But what they delivered was death. That's the harsh truth. And maybe that's why Orlando Anderson's story still matters all these years later. Because his life forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. How many more young men are trapped in the same cycle right now? How many are one bad decision away from destroying everything? How many still believe fear equals power? Real power isn't making people fear you. Real power is controlling yourself. Real power is building wealth, protecting your family, and leaving something meaningful behind. Street reputation fades. Legacy lasts. And that may be the biggest lesson of all. If you made it this far, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Do you think Orlando Anderson was truly responsible, or is there still more to the story? Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps push the video further into the algorithm and helps this channel grow. Also, watch the video below for more true crime stories and check out the merch in the description to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.